afternoon. So certainly working in academia may be the coolest, and working for the federal government may be pretty cool, but I would offer that working in industry probably would give a few folks a run for their money as well. So let's see. Let me thank you again for your introduction. Thanks for your comments, Dr. Russia. I work for Lockheed Martin Space Systems Company. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with what we do, but I thought I'd share a bit. We obviously have a strong partnership with NASA. Most recently this year, we were able to launch the mission to Jupiter. Juno launch in August was a fantastic opportunity for us to work together and partner together. Beyond working on government satellite programs, we also have a series of commercial satellite programs. Space Systems is also responsible for missile systems, and we have had an opportunity to partner quite a bit on human spaceflight. Beyond the Jupiter mission, beyond Juno, we've had the chance to also accomplish a few other things. We had a chance to launch the advanced, extremely high frequency advanced VHF satellite for the Space and Missile Command for the Department of the Air Force. We also had the opportunity to launch 2 missiles and then hit them with 2 additional missiles for the Missile Defense Agency. And yes, I do know that I'm talking to the NASA team, but there's a thread here. This hitting a bullet with a bullet twice was considered pretty significant. And it's also probably something that is a relatively unique experience. I would offer that working in industry, we have the opportunity to look at what various different programs do, as well as various different customer sets do, and have a dialogue around cross-pollination of information and concepts. I also think that we have the honor of being able to partner with our customers in execution of some of their more complex and difficult problems. And thirdly, I offer that working in industry allows for us to commercialize quite a bit. So visibility to what happens on various programs, I think, informs our experience in industry quite a bit differently than what you might see within an agency. I think all of you are probably familiar with the saying that if you continue to do what you've always done, if you expect to get a different result, and that's the definition of crazy. We've established a series of strategic initiatives which say that in today's environment where there's an expectation of doing things faster and faster, this cross-pollination of information and ideas is mandatory for us to try to find ways to disrupt ourselves, to reinvent ourselves and come up with new solutions. Space Systems Company is one of 4 business areas for Lockheed Martin Corporation. Probably the biggest revenue-producing business area is the Aero business area, which has as its charter the development of the F-35 stealth fighter. Now that's a fighter that is scheduled to replace most other fighters. It's a single-seat fighter with customers from the Army, from the Air Force, from the Navy, from the UK, and from multiple other countries. And besides its really cool landing and takeoff design, where you can see it lift up and hover, it also has another mission. And that other mission is for it to have a complete and smart sensor system. There's a requirement for the electro-optical system of the F-35 to be able to see a target, see a potential vehicle, identify whether it's an enemy or not, and to react before it's seen. So if you can imagine the dialogue that occurs when you've got electrical-optical engineers that are working on these stealth fighter planes, talking to engineers who are also developing sensor systems that might have a requirement to look 125 miles towards Earth, or 25,000 miles, or if you're going to Jupiter, 400 million miles. You can imagine what a dialogue might look like when sensor engineers are talking to other sensor engineers and are thinking about how to react such that it's more efficient and effective. that dialogue is probably one that you would only see in industry. I remember my days working as a program manager for the External Tank for the Space Shuttle. And I took over the program at a pretty critical time. It was during the post-Columbia return to flight phase, where one of our challenges was to consider how we can get smarter about foam. Now, for those of you that have followed what happened with our challenges, you'll recognize what we needed to do is to find a way to look inside of foam to understand its characteristics, to see whether there were voids or defects or inclusions of some type. And there actually was no technology that we could find at the time. Well, it turns out that one of our sister companies, which as it turned out happened to be where I'm working now in Sunnyvale, had developed a backscatter X-ray capability, which was able to provide us with that knowledge, and we proceeded with a very rapid development program to allow for us to get smart enough about defects, how divots occur, and characterize them with fracture mechanics. That cross-pollination of information was absolutely mandatory. Probably wouldn't have occurred had we not been. You probably aren't surprised to find out that same group has informed our IS&GS organization, our Information Systems and Global Services organization, and their development of a technology to support TSA. Backscatter X-ray is actually that fun machine that you get to walk through on your way through the airport. Again, cross-pollination is probably a big change, but one of the second major areas that I think has already been recognized is that we do get a chance to work on some of the government's more challenging programs and projects. I think all of us recognize that as we try to attract students, as we try to get folks involved, everybody sees themselves as a leader. And as we put programs and projects in front of them, they can get their head around what it takes in order to make that one task happen. The challenge is different when you're leading thousands or tens of thousands of folks. And my organization is about 6,500 people. So I can't work a single project. I need to develop a leader of leaders. That capability, that growth, that whole skill set is very, very different. And we get the opportunity to grow that as part of our industry responsibilities. But what I'd like to talk about a bit more is probably the pink elephant in the room. The one thing, I guess, that sets industry apart from most other areas is something I'll introduce as a four-letter word. Coin, C-O-I-N. It's about money. The idea of commercialization and turning things into dollars, and a lot of what happens on the industrial side. So have you thought a bit about why science has suddenly become cool? I mean, obviously we know that we do need to have STEM education, and we do need to have folks that are filling the pipeline. But why is it that science and math that used to be relegated to Einstein and Pascal is now something that we're talking about in forums like this? Could it be that folks are recognizing that technology has made a huge difference in what they do every day? And it's different, it's faster. How many folks do you have a GPS on something? Spider-Bread, right? How many folks are on an iPad? How many people owned one this time last year? How many owned one this time 2 years ago? Awesome. You guys didn't raise your hand, because if you did raise it, it wasn't an iPad, it was probably an Etch-a-Sketch. Because iPads were introduced in January of 2010. It's that new. And there's an expectation that things are going to get turned around faster and faster and faster. And it's because of a consideration of what people need and want in their day-to-day life, and finding ways for technology to make it happen. I actually work in Silicon Valley, so when you're thinking about geeky turning into dollars, it's all over. You know, when I left there was a dialogue as to whether the folks that own stock LinkedIn would be able to sell off their new millions of dollars so that they change property values. But it's a link to dollars, I think, that's gained the attention and imagination of our youth. I actually have two sons that are in college, and in preparation for this dialogue, I asked them, is there anything that I do that you think is cool? Then the third time I got their attention, and they said, yeah, Mom, you're cool enough. And I said, what is it? What is it that's cool about what I do through your eyes? And they said, you know about stuff that's going to happen before it shows up in the stores. I said, is that it? They said, yeah, that knowledge and that information, that link to what changes everybody's lives is something that I think industry can bring forward. And in my job, I've seen it firsthand. I think that you guys are probably very familiar with the technology transfer programs that NASA has. In the job that I have today, I've seen it alive, I've seen it working, I've seen it